So, I am going to talk to you today about DISC personality styles. So, all of you have a report already. You've got your DISC report. You either have the main one, the universal DISC report, or you have the entrepreneur report. And they're ultimately the same. The entrepreneur report has a lot more things in it based on sales, but it's ultimately the same information. So on page 3 of actually both reports, it's the introduction, and you probably read this, and maybe you read it a long time ago, and you haven't gotten back to it in a while. So I'm going to tell you that this page is super important and valuable because you can actually see the quick ways to identify somebody around you. Because isn't the point of learning about personality styles, isn't it so that you can figure out who you're talking to and adjust your behavior in order to make a better connection? So again, adjust, not fake it, but just adjust. In my case, usually 9 times out of 10, that means to stop talking so much and to listen. So it's easier for me to know what to do, but it's also difficult for me to stop talking and start listening more. So anyway, if you look on page 3, you're going to find this cute little page with blue in it and a guy with question marks on his head. So it basically walks you through how you're going to identify somebody around you and which personality style they are. So again, that's the first step, is to be able to identify the person around you, because you can't possibly make any adjustments if you have no idea who you're dealing with, who you're talking to. So this is definitely a great first step. So you'll want to use this page. You can pull this out, and maybe you even want to just take some quick notes off to the side so you can have them with you. But basically it says, do you know someone who is assertive, to the point, and wants the bottom line? So if you're sitting in front of a stranger at a sales call, in a meeting, at a luncheon, wherever, if you're sitting with somebody and they seem to be very assertive, they tend to take over the conversation, but in an assertive way, not in a distractible storytelling way. If they just get right to the point and they almost seem a little unapproachable, they tend to be a D. Okay, so let's move on to I. We all know that the I's are social butterflies, and they tend to talk a lot, and you know that because your fearless leader here is an I. So if you run into people who are great communicators, they are super friendly, and they just can't wait to talk to you and chat with you, very easy to pick out the I. So the S's, they're a little bit more difficult, not difficult to understand, but they tend to be steady, patient, and loyal, and so sometimes that's hard to pick out, maybe in a conversation with them or just seeing them in the room. But you'll find these qualities when you're listening. The key to all of this is to listen, because if we're talking, then we're not listening, of course, and we can't find the answer, because we're not allowing them to open up and be themselves, whether that's really assertive, very social, or very quiet. So in a public situation, you might find your S's to be they'll be good listeners. That's really the one way that you're going to identify them. And not only that, but they will ask you questions. If they're just making small talk, they'll talk about family. They'll talk about their family. They'll talk about people. My friend, this, my family, my son. They will talk about family. They will not talk about work, generally. Okay, so that's how you can identify an S. And then you will identify a C by someone who, obviously they're very analytical, but can you pick that out when they're talking? Probably, because if you can draw some answers out of them and actually get them talking, they may talk about the new oven they purchased, but they'll give you all the specs on it and all the research behind it. And they'll say that they spent 10 hours researching all of the ovens to see which one was going to have the best whatever, right? They're all about the details, and so that's an easy way for you to identify them. Now, the point of all this, go to my other page, the point of all of these trainings is not just for me to get up here and talk, even though you know I love to get up here and talk, but it is to implement this in your day. So what I want you to do today, and I'm going to keep going with this, but what I want you to do is to identify people today. Look around you today and the next day and the day after, and see if you can figure out very quickly in a moment uh, who someone is. And don't try to overthink it. I know we often try to figure out oh, my spouse, oh, my best friend, oh, what is my husband or my wife? I know that I can figure that out. And you know so much about them, and so you're trying to pick out all of these intricacies. But remember that we're all a mix of all of the personalities. So if someone were to say, oh, what's Stacy? Like if my husband were to say, oh, what personality style is Stacy? Obviously, I'm an I, but I can be very direct and assertive, and I can be very competitive, which gives me D. And I have a lot of relationship driven behaviors, so that makes me an S. I can be a very good listener and very loyal and reliable, and that makes me an S. And I can also, even though I don't prefer to do it, but sometimes I like a good spreadsheet. I mean, I want the details. I want it listed out. I want it to be organized. I want things to look good and feel good around me, and that means that it has to be organized. So it might be difficult when you know that much about a person to pinpoint the major DISC personality style, but that's all you're trying to do is pull out the main one. What is the one that comes out right away, like the instinctual one that comes out? So my natural tendency, especially in a public setting, if it's not a person I know, is to be an I. I'm very social, and that comes right out. And so this is how you're going to identify people. So the other place you can go is this amazing spot on your report. It's on page 13 on the entrepreneur report. Yep. And page 11 on the universal report. And this is your cheat sheet. If you didn't make a copy of this or just rip this page out, this is what it looks like. If you didn't rip this page out or make a copy of this page, you're losing, because this report does you no good if you're not utilizing it and if you're not actively working on the things in it, because the point wasn't to pay money and get a report and say, oh yeah, that's me. That's not what the point is, right? I mean, maybe for some people, but they're probably not in here in this course, because this is more for people who want to know more and do more and grow and expand. So this is your ultimate cheat sheet right here. So now once you're able to identify who's who you're talking to, are you talking to D, I, S, or C, then it gives you the answer of how to respond to them. So yes, it's easy when you're talking to somebody who's just like you, because you're not really adjusting your behavior that much, but you kind of are, because if you're a D and you're talking to a D, you both can't be in control, because you both are going to butt heads, so there is some give and take in all of that. So we'll use an example. A lot of people have S in them. I definitely have S. I am IS. Those are my, so I am all people. All people in all relationships, and I definitely lack in details. But let's make it difficult, at least difficult for me, and maybe for more people than just me. But so if you're talking to a C, C's are very quiet. They're reserved. They prefer to work alone. They prefer to be alone. So that to me makes it difficult. Of course, I'm the opposite of C. So everything C is, I am not. And you'll find that but so the C is very detail oriented. They're perfectionists, but they also work alone. So me as an I, how do I draw them out? How do I have a conversation with them? Right? If they don't really want to talk, how do I get them to engage with me, or how do I get my message across to them? So here it goes, right here on the answer side. It says, C's are analytical, organized and structured, works well with a schedule, prefers to work alone, quiet and reserved. So quiet and reserved is what you're going to pick up when you're just meeting somebody. But now if you know somebody better, you'll know that they are those things. You'll know that they're organized. You know, you walk over maybe in their office and their desk is organized, or they just have their papers organized. They come to a meeting with a file of facts thing that is all in order rather than just a pile of stapled papers like like an eye might. But then on the other side of the page, the answers are here. And it says, focus on the facts. Keep the tone professional, because remember, they're all about details versus relationships. So keep it professional. Give them all the details. They want to know the details for whatever it is. If it's something you're asking them to do, they absolutely need the details. Don't short them on the details. Don't do like I do sometimes, say, oh, I have this great idea and I want to send an email and put stuff like this in it. That's not going to help us see, right? They need the details. So provide them with time to analyze a decision. They take a longer time to make a decision. So make sure you allow them time. Don't just say, hey, we're going to do this. Let's start tomorrow. Are you in? That's not how C's and S's, if we're going to say it, they don't make decisions like that. They take a minute, they process, they think about it. So give them time for that. And remember, and this is big, because I feel like a lot of people will get offended by this or take it personally, but just remember that a C is going to ask a lot of questions, but they're not questioning you or your idea or whatever you said. They're questioning the details and the facts and the validity. They need to gather more facts in order to process. So remember that. Remember that they're not picking on you, that they're not taking you down this, interrogation by asking you all these questions. So if you have questions for me on this topic, please put them in the comments and I will come back here and I will answer them as time goes by. Even if it's 3 months old and you have a question, if you're new in here and this is the first video you're watching, but it's 3 months old, no problem, put your question in here and try that today. Walk around today, talk to new people, or even if you're out at the grocery store or at Starbucks, figure it out. Feel the people around you, because that is going to be your superpower. That is how you're going to make those connections so much easier and so much quicker. So tell me how it goes. I want to know how you think you did and what you accomplished today and the next day and the day after and the day after, and let me know if it starts getting easier to identify the people. All right. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being fabulous. And thanks for working on you.